Isabel Farms, lot 127. We're connected to Arbor's live Ignite drive, so we're going to path to that location, grab this project. In the lot projects folder. And we're going to scroll down. These are alphabetical and find the Isabel Farms section. And there's the 127. We're simply going to copy it back to our T drive and put it in the location that we work from. High bar, Arbor, lot specs. This will be an in progress job. I'm going to paste it in here. All right, there we go. Close File Explorer. Copy the project and we have it in our working location. I'm going to locate the M&K structural drawings that we'll need to reference throughout our workflow. So I'm going to go back to our Arbor Ignite. I have these all saved in our location so I can access them easily. M&K structural drawings. I'm going to find the Bradford and open that PDF. At this point, I'm going to look at the drawings and kind of familiarize myself with what I'm seeing for the specific model. I'm going to launch AutoCAD Architecture using the Coins Framing tab here on my desktop. This is loading not only AutoCAD Architecture, but it's also going to be loading several add-ons like Clayton Tools, the Coins module that we need for our framing work. Once ACA is launched, we're going to use our project navigator, redock this, and we're going to open our project browser and set up a new project specifically for Westmoreland for panels. Okay. I need to path to the location where I just copied the project, which is going to be in our in progress location. I'm actually going to create a new project. I'm going to name it the same as the root project, and I'm simply going to append Westmoreland to the name. I'm going to find the root project in our in progress folder. 127, select the APJ. And it's essentially going to clone the project and rename the appropriate files. It's also repathing the project as it does this, which doesn't take very long. All right, we can see it's created the project. We're now in the project. We can close and wait on the data to refresh. Okay, now we're good. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up our first floor solved. Kind of want to familiarize myself with what's going on in the project. I want to check the wall heights and see if we have an 8-foot or 9-foot first floor. Okay, we have an 8-foot first floor in this project. I want to look and see what options are here. Anything that we're going to have to deal with as we work through the framing process. Okay. Doesn't look like we have any structural extensions. We do have a ceiling option that's we're going to have to deal with when it comes to the framing. We have a slope ceiling to a 10-foot flat. At this point, I'm going to open up the first floor construct. I'm going to navigate to my Clayton tools on my ribbon, and I'm going to open the framing tool palette. The first thing it always pops up in a new project is ask me if anyone wants to create a Clayton tool project settings file. I'm going to say yes. We already have this pre-configured. I just have to go to the appropriate location, which is also in our T drive. Westmoreland. I'm going to save this. This is looking at making sure we're looking at the right libraries that we need for Arbor Homes and for the Westmoreland plant. I'm going to do step 1 and create a framing construct. We're not going to do any work in the root first floor construct, but we do need to create this file because we have to use it later when we're getting ready to export the project to Lumber Lineup. All right, that's done. I'm going to close it out. I'm going to go back to my first floor solved, and I'm also going to create framing construct. Okay. We now have a first floor dash solved underscore coins. This is the construct that we're going to be doing all of our work in, so we're not going to be affecting the first floor solved construct for the architectural. I'm going to refresh my project navigator, and we'll see that these files are now in the appropriate locations. Before I go any further in the workflow, what I like to do is look at the model in Object Viewer, kind of in 3D, and I'm looking for any obvious mistakes, drafting errors, gaps in walls, heights of walls that are, not correct. Anything that we're going to need to fix with the architectural modeling. prior to doing our coins framing work. This one actually looks really good. I'm not seeing any obvious issues. So I'm going to close that. And we'll continue to work through our workflow from here. Okay, so we've already ran step one and created our framing construct. So we're now working in our first floor solved coins construct. We're going to continue to step two, clean out framing construct. I'm going to start with the walls. So what this is going to do is delete and purge any wall styles that don't include framing. So you can see the ones that have checkboxes are going to be removed. The ones that are unchecked are going to remain. So these are the walls that we want to keep in the project. That is done. I'm going to switch to the next one. This is looking at members, delete and purge, windows, multi-view blocks. Quickly scroll, make sure I'm going to uncheck the cabinets because I want to keep those in the project for now. I want to keep the toilet, any showers that are in here I want to keep. Some more cabinets. And everything looks good. I'm going to delete and purge. Miscellaneous. This is going to get rid of any dimensions or line work that we don't need for framing. All right. Now that is complete. You can see it's really cleaned up the model. Since this is a lot solved project, we can skip step 3, merge box options. I'm going to apply rough openings. I'm going to check this front door here and make sure it changed. It has. Okay. Now I'm going to apply coins framing to walls. So this is looking at our framing template library. This has all been pre-configured for the specific builder. So this is all set up for Arbor. The same thing with the clean out framing construct. We had already set that up in our libraries. So really automates the process. So this is going to take our wall styles that we left in the project and it's going to convert them to coins wall styles, which have framing in them. It's going to put them all in the same cleanup group. And I'm going to apply. Usually takes like 20 to 30 seconds typically. It's done. Okay, I'm going to switch to medium detail framing. And now you can see we have our studs in the walls. Throw this up in Object Viewer real quick so you can see it in 3D. All right. So since this is a lot solved project, it's got different options that solve in. So a lot of these walls currently are in little tiny pieces based on the way they're set up and broken out in the original master model. So we're going to next do step 6 to join these walls. So now you can see that back wall that had a bunch of little tiny pieces, all one wall. Okay, we have all the framing in. Now we're going to go back to our first floor root construct and we're going to copy in the footprint outline just to make sure everything's in place and didn't get wonky during our wall conversion. All right, I can see that came in. Also going to go back to the first floor solved and grab this polyline because we know this has a vault to flat ceiling option. So we need to include that in our coins file. Okay. I'm going to delete the front garage wall because we have a custom portal frame garage wall in our framing template library that we've developed that we're going to bring in. So I'm just going to delete the front door or the front garage wall and door. Next, I'm going to go to our framing template library, and we have a couple tags already pre-configured in here for doors and windows. It's going to call out the size as well as the header type and size. Bring those into our project. I'm going to go ahead and tag the windows. Once I do the first one, I can do the rest of them as a group. All right. I'm going to repeat the same step with the doors. Start with the front door. At this point, these windows and doors are all tagged, and I can move the tags around wherever I want them. We include these later for the panel placement plan. Finish moving these later. The next thing I'm going to do is kind of look at these walls and make sure that they all joined using our Clayton Tools automation. During step 6, I joined all the walls, the little segments. Now I'm going to check and make sure it worked. There's certain times where it doesn't work, and it's usually there's a modeling error. And here's a good example. We've got 2 walls. It should be 1 wall. Let's figure out what's going on. So the baselines are opposite of each other. So in order for these walls to actually join, we need to reverse one of these so that they're going the same direction. And I can go up to my Clayton Tools. Actually, I'll use step 6 again, the join walls. And you can see that wall is now joined. What I'm also going to be looking at is the interior walls that tee into the exterior walls. We don't have any junctions currently, no T-junctions. So we're going to use a Clayton tool called Wall In Cleanup. Close this real quick. It checked 61 walls and adjusted 14. So you can see now that there are junctions in those areas. There's going to be some overlapping and some manual cleanup that we're going to have to do in certain situations. So we'll get to that. Another thing that we have pre-set up in our framing library is you can see that these 2 walls look different in appearance. They're yellow versus the blue. That's because they are load-bearing walls. So it's easy to look from, a zoomed out perspective and see, okay, these are load-bearing interior walls. Obviously, all the exterior walls are load-bearing, 16 on center versus 24. At this point, we're also going to consult our M&K structural drawings just to make sure there wasn't a wall that needs to be load-bearing that's not. Looks like for this Bradford, it doesn't have a second floor. There's no stairs, so everything's mostly in the trusses. So we can switch back. And the last thing I'm going to do right now is we know that some of these load-bearing walls are going to need to be aligned. The studs are going to need to be aligned on a grid. So we have a template in our framing library that I'm going to copy and paste into the project as well. Oops. Bring that into my coins drawing and paste it. And for now, until we're ready to do that, I can always hide it so that's not there, but we know we brought it down. So now that we've copied in the grids, we can align the exterior load-bearing walls and any interior load-bearing walls that we have, which are our 16 on center walls, which in this project, we only have the garage partition wall and this section of wall here. Before we do that, I'm going to reverse the stud direction on this rear wall so that our setting out point from this corner is going the correct direction. So by doing that, I'm going to select the wall. I'm going to go here to my properties and change this from no to yes. Now I'm going to work my way around the house, starting with the exterior walls. I'm going to go to my coins framing tab under Clayton Tools. Next to modify studs, there's a drop down where I can move studs on grid. I'm simply going to pick on the grid, and you can see that the studs are now aligned to that grid. See, the studs are off the grid. Now they're not. Just going to work my way around. Do this interior wall. Okay. Once I have that done and all the studs are aligned from the sides, from each side and front to back, I can hide this grid so it's not in our way as we're working. Now I'm going to work my way around the house and check the exterior corner junctions. Realize I still need my garage portal frame, so I'm going to go to my framing template. We already have this portal frame all mocked up where we can adjust it for different size garages. So we simply can copy it in to our project. Rotate it to match, and then we can move it into place. And adjust these now. Need to pull this wall back and then make a sheathing adjustment. Looks good. Let's do the other side. One sheathing, edit the grips. Garage front is in. Let's take a quick look at it. All right, that looks great. I'm going to do a tidy invert cleanup on this corner here. Come back to that in a second. I'm gonna go ahead and make a quick manual change here. So before I do that, I'm gonna try. Hmm. I'll leave it like this. All right. Just gonna work my way around, um, looking at all these exterior junctions and making adjustments as needed. Actually do a manual override on this one. Actually, all right. Let's see. I'm gonna turn off my grid just so it's not in the way for a minute. Gonna realign this. There we go. That's what I want to see. Okay. T-junction there. Got kind of a mess going on here, which I'm going to clean up real quick. Okay. All of our exterior junctions look good. So now I'm going to start working my way around looking at the interior junctions. We're not getting a backer here because it's too close to the stud. So we're going to manually add one. Okay. Looks good. Looks fine. Gotta get this wall back. I'm going to change. Do a junction override on the start of the wall to none. Okay. Missing one here. Again, I think It's too close to this stud, so we're going to have to add one manually. Change it to a flat. And that's going to need to be a 2x6, actually. Okay. Kind of a messy junction here. Let's see if we can clean it up. There we go. Here we have a situation where we have a 2x6 wall teeing into a 2x4 wall, so a 2x4 backer is not going to work. We're going to add another one. Just going to move this one. It's the midpoint. And then we're going to copy another one. There. Same thing on the other side. Okay. We're going to need a flat backer here, so to oops. This T-junction I'm going to come back to after we break this wall. I know this wall is going to have to be broken. It's too long for panels, so we'll come back and revisit that when we get to that. This was a situation where the door was too close to the wall. There was not enough room, so I shifted the door slightly. So I'm looking at all those door positions as I'm doing this as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn my grid off, I think, for now. The next step I'm going to do is I'm going to break. I know we have a vault to flat ceiling option here. So I'm going to, where we have some 10-foot walls. So I'm going to go ahead and make those wall height adjustments and slope the walls that need to be sloped for that ceiling option. So just going to draw a polyline where I want to break. This wall starts at 8 feet, slopes up to 10, and this whole wall across the kitchen is 10 feet to this point. So I'm also going to break the wall here, which we'll have to revisit that junction. Junction, it gets kind of tricky sometimes where you have 3 walls coming together. And I realigned my studs on grid because once I broke it, it shifted a little. So I'm going to have to make a couple adjustments here to the manual flats that I've already added. Okay. All right, so now that I have this wall separated where I want it, I'm going to adjust the height to 10 feet, 1 1/8. So I need to break this wall. This section is also going to be 10 feet. This wall I need to slope from here to here. Like that. So let's look at that real quick. Now that we've already broken a few walls for specific reasons to increase the height, to slope a couple walls that are needed for the vault to flat ceiling, we're going to work our way around the rest of the house and start looking at how we're going to break this up into wall panels. So I'm going to add some dimensions. We've been told by Highbar that 12 feet is a good length to kind of set as our standard. If we deviate from it, in certain instances, that's okay. So we're going to start with a 12-foot dimension line. So we also want to break on natural sheathing breaks whenever possible, and also avoid breaking on doors and windows. So as we work our way around, we're going to keep all that in mind. All right, so the second panel, if it were 12 feet, would hit on a window, which we don't want. So I'm going to pull this one back 4 feet and avoid that window, but also hit on a sheathing break. See if 12 feet gets us past this next window, which is good. Another 12 feet. And a little bit more than 12 feet for this last panel. Looks like we're going to be at 12, 11 and a half. So that'll work. Let's look at this wall. I believe this one's a little too long. Yeah, this one's almost 17 feet. So we're going to find a panel or sheathing break. And I'll go ahead and just drop a dimension in so we can see what we're looking at. All right, so we'll plan on breaking here. Okay. This front wall is 12.8. That'll be good. 12.8, essentially. We're going to need to break this one. It's almost 25 feet. So if we go from here to here, we'll be about 11.8. And here, a little over 13. I think we'll be fine. So the last exterior wall will be our rear wall. $12 feet. It's a little too close to this window framing, so I'm going to pull this one back. Eight feet hits on the window, so let's see what 12 feet, where that puts us. Oops. 12 feet gets us past the window at a good spot. We go 12 feet from there, we hit a window. Let's pull it back 4 feet, still on the window. Let's pull it back 4 feet. Looks like we're going to have a smaller panel, and we should be able to get another 12-footer in. Clear the window, and that should leave us 4 feet. Oops. Roughly. Oops. All right, so now I'm going to go back to our Clayton Tools tool palette. One of the features that we have is a panel break tab where we can add a block where we want to break the panels. So I'm going to bring one of those in. I'm going to copy it to these predetermined locations where we want to break the walls. I also have a few interior walls that are a little long, so I'm going to go ahead and I think this wall, let's see what this one is. This one is little over 15 feet, so we'll add one here as well. All right, I'm gonna just double check and make sure there aren't any other walls that are too long. This one's almost 15, so we'll break this one as well. So I am now that I have these panel break locations set, I'm gonna go ahead and save. And I'm gonna use another tool from our Clayton Tools palette called Break Walls at Blocks. It's over here. And it should auto break these walls where we've placed those locations. All right, so let's see. Did not break that wall completely. Did break that one. Break that one. And did not break the rear wall completely. But this one did not break that one. Broke that one. Broke that one. All right, so there's a few locations where we're still going to have to go in and manually break, which I will do really quick. That's good. That one's good. This one. This will clean up in a little bit. Let's see if I can get these to come together better. Yeah. Okay. Back wall had some areas that didn't break. All right, so we should have everything broken into wall panels based on what we outlined. I go ahead and save again. I'm going to go ahead and turn back on our our grid and just double check that our studs are still aligned on this grid. There's a couple issues I see already that we're just going to have to change. Let's check that wall again. So we're good. Feet. Okay, so we've got our panels all broken where we think we want them. We're going to make some adjustments now to the studs on grid, which has shifted a little bit during the panel breaking process. So looks like my first 12-foot panel here is good on the grid. I've also incorporated on this wall so far 1/8 inch wall in gaps for a long collinear panel run. That took me about 10 minutes outside of this video to figure out the best process for that. Still need some clarification on that, but I'm going to move on to my second 8-foot panel and I'm going to realign my studs on grid. Do that again. You can see I do have an 1/8 inch panel gap between these. This last one. Okay. All right, we're broken here. I'm going to add a 1/8 inch panel gap here for now. Checking my stud alignment on the grid. I'm going to actually go ahead and add an 1/8 inch gap in this panel. And then I am going to realign my stud on grid at the same time. Wrong way. All right. Adjusting my dimensions for the panel gaps right now. This last panel is a sloped panel, so it needs to be right where it's at. I've worked my way along the rear. Okay. Just gonna double check right now. Make sure everything's still aligned on our grid. Also looking at any junctions or overrides that might have moved as we broke the panels. See if I needed to make any adjustments. Slightly, so I'm going to double check our T junctions, our corner junctions. I think looking pretty good. Check the oops, like that. Everything's looking pretty good. Okay. All right. Now we're going to look at some additional backers and blocking that we need to add. We know for right now, we need to manually add them in for our tub showers. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, got one there. Let's do one on the other side. Okay, that tub is done. Let's do this one. All right, just got the backers in for the tubs and showers. Now I'm going to do a little bit of blocking at the kitchen hood. So I'm going to now I'm gonna add the blocking, do our coins framing. This is going to be 2x6 blocking. All right, I'm going to have a look at that. All right. Also need to add blocking in these two 10-foot walls. It's two 10-foot exterior walls. So go back to our coins framing. This time we're going to do blocking rows. Um, let's do this one. Add a row. Check this out. Make sure everything looks good. All right, we've added all of our blocking in there. And let's see, I'm going to check out the Bradford M&K structural set really quick and just confirm. Looks like we do have a beam pocket on either side of the porch beam. Okay. So there's our porch beam. We're going to need to add a beam pocket here. So I'm going to go to our framing template. I'm going to grab a loose member. Bring that in. And we'll start with this side. I want to look at this. Get the elevation correct. All right, I'm going to bring that up to the top of the bottom of the beam. Okay, copy this here. So we have a conflict where the stud is. So I'm going to do a manual override and move this stud. Outside of that beam pocket. Shapes right there. Also going to add another one. Other side. And go. Loose members. We're going to add this structural member and this structural member. Okay. Let's take a look at it real quick. And we have a beam and a beam pocket. Perfect. All right, let's go do the same thing over here. Beam. So we're going to make a couple adjustments to this wall. I'm going to remove that for now. This one I'm going to remove as well. Forgot to copy one over here before, so I'm going to have to adjust this again. Let's copy it. Grab the stud. The wall. Loose members. We've created the beam pocket on the other side of the porch. So check it out real quick. Make sure everything's good. I'm going to save my drawing. Okay, now that we've got all of our panels broken, we've adjusted our wall in gaps. We need to tag our panels and give them a panel ID number. So I'm going to go to our framing template. I'm going to grab our tag, bring it into our coins drawing, and I'm going to tag all the walls, starting with this one. I'm going to select multiple, and grab all the walls. Okay. I'm going to work, also in this process, I'm also going to set the nailing, the nails, the nail edge, and the nail field, which we want in our reports. So 8D. Just going to work my way around the house. Oops. I think I'll wait and do the nailing on all of them at the same time. That should save me some time. Oops. All right, we're almost done with the exterior walls. Gonna repeat the same process on the interior walls. Gonna move these to the side of the wall where I want them as I go to. Oops. Okay, looks like we have all of the walls tagged. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to convert our plot styles from STB to CTB. So we're gonna convert P styles. And that's because we're creating a layout that we need to print that shows our studs for the panel placement as part of our current process. Will be replaced in the future by lumber lineup. So we're going to add a layout. We're going to import a layout from template. I'm going to go to our previous project where we've already done this. Just right here. We're going to pick our panel plan. And you can see we already have our title block set up, our drawing on the viewport on the sheet, on the layout. This is a garage right versus garage left. So I will update this job information for the specific Isabel Farms 127. Now that we have all the panel tags, I'm going to go back and set the nailing for the sheathing on the exterior walls. So I'm selecting all the exterior walls except for the front garage walls. They're going to have a different nailing pattern. They're all going to be 8D, 12, 6. Okay. And then for these front two garage walls for the portal frame, I'm going to do 3, 3. This information we are getting from the M&K drawings. On the cover sheet notes section where it talks about the lateral wall bracing and wall sheathing specifications, which I have highlighted here. We've also already set up our panel plan layout. I'm going to just make some adjustments. I'm going to update the title block information, the address. This is Isabel Farms lot 127. This is a garage right. And all of these steps that we've covered, if we had a second floor or any a basement that had framing, we would repeat these steps that we've covered in the process so far for coins on those additional constructs. I'm going to save. And at this point, we're going to move on to our lumber lineup process. So I'm going to start by closing this drawing because I need to rename it. Oops. It's going to ask me to repath. Okay. I'm going to open that back up. At this point, I would just do a final QC as well, which I've already, pretty much done. And then we're going to go up to our ribbon, to our Clayton Exporter tab. And we're going to add our first floor coins construct. This is just letting the software know what information we want to export when we create our JSON. I'm going to select export framing data only, save and close. Then we're going to go to Clayton Tools, to our ribbon, and I'm going to go to this drop down under Framing Tools and select Export Coins Data Solved. This automatically goes to the correct location within the project where we want this file to live. And all I'm going to do is name it with the community and lot number and save it. Right now it's creating a JSON export from the coins model with all of the data in this framing model. And that's finished. Again, I'm going to save. And now we're going to transition to lumber lineup. All right, now that we have our coins work completed, I'm going to launch lumber lineup. First thing I'm going to do is go up to our ribbon and we're going to import the JSON file that we just created. So I'm going to navigate to the location where we have that file, which is in our in progress. It's the 127 Westmoreland documents cam. There's the JSON that we just created. I'm going to open it. You can see that since we tagged the panels in coins, they're all coming in with the panel tag IDs that we set. So first step is we're going to set up move this a little bit. We're going to set up some stacks and we're going to manually drag these panels into the appropriate stacks. So my first stack is already auto created. I'm going to add a new row and I also want to name this stack. So we're going to call it 1ext because it's going to be an exterior stack. So these are going to be for our Randex. So I can at this point go ahead and set the production line to Randex. And then I'm going to add a new stack. I'm going to add a new row. I'm going to name this stack 1 ext-m. The M is going to be for manual framing table. I'm going to set that production line. Oh, let me rename that again. It did not stick. 1 ext-m. Oops. There we go. Let me double check. Manual framing table. Okay. Add a new stack. I'm going to add a new row. I name this one 1-int for interior panels. Add a new stack. Add a new row. I'm going to name this one 1-int-m. This one will be for manual framing table. And oops, gosh darn it. 1-int-m. There we go. That's manual framing table, and then this is going to be Randek. All right, once I have those stacks and rows created, if I had a second floor in this project, I would do the same thing for exterior and interior walls. Instead, I would append it with a 2 instead of a 1, designated it as a first floor or second floor. So now I'm going to start by getting all my Randek exterior walls. I'm going to select let me actually do this a little differently. Let me close that. So anyone that doesn't have a comma after it, I added a comma in my tags to designate it as a manual panel versus a Randek. So I'm selecting all the ones that don't have a comma. I'm going to drag those into my Randek row. All right. So all the ones that do have a comma are my manual framing table panels. So I'm going to select those next for my exterior walls. Looks like there's only a few of those. Drag those here. Okay. Collapse those so I have some more room. I'm going to go ahead and grab my manual interior walls. Looks like I have 4 of those. Drag those in here. Okay. And the rest of these are all interior Randek panels. So I'm going to drag those into this stack. So you can see now my unstacked panels grid is empty and everything is in a stack. At this point, I'm going to go to my job properties and import the information that I need. So my project name is going to be Bradford. Oops, caps lock's on. Bradford, elevation A. This is a garage, right? My job address is 155 Rory Drive, Shelbyville, Indiana. Job builder is Barbara Homes. Community is Isabel Farms. Job number, job lot, plan name, Bradford. It's the model ID, the release number. The plan series for the Bradford is Arbor. I'm going to save job as. I'm going to go back to my documents folder within the project. I like to set up a new folder for lumber lineup. And then I'm going to save this lumber lineup file and name it with the job number. I also like to append Westmoreland to this file name in case we end up doing it for a site built project. All right, save the job. I can close that window. Stop video. Now we're going to open up our floor plan 3D. This panel layout I can change if we have more than one floor. It would be listed in here, and I could toggle between them, or I can, I can show the 3D view. I can spin it around, look at it, kind of QC some things in lumber lineup. But the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to change it back to a floor plan layout. So this is a layout that's used to generate our panel placement guide. What we need to do now, I'm going to maximize this window, is add dimensions. So we know where these panels need to be set in the field. So I'm going to start by toggling on my placement dims. And I'm going to select a wall, and I'm going to add a range box. All right, so we'll start here in the upper left corner. It automatically puts a range box in, which I can then drag. So you can see as I drag it and it touches a wall, it's going to automatically put a dimension. I can extend it to the right to incorporate a few more walls. Kind of, decide how much I want to show from this side of the house. And we do have some that are kind of close together. I can adjust, where those are by, dragging them out. If it's not a wall that's intersecting an interior wall that's intersecting an exterior wall, I kind of like to pull it back closer to that wall. But we're still kind of figuring out the best practice for this. So I can change what side of the wall that it's dimensioning to. by clicking on the wall. Okay, I'm just kind of looking here, and I do want them all to be on the same side when I'm justifying the location. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. I think we're good on that range box. So I'm going to exit. And at this point, I'm going to add another range box. Actually, I'm going to do that. I have to go back here. Let's see. There we go. I want to start in that same corner. I want to go in this direction. It's putting the dimensions on the wrong side, so I want to click in this range box and flip model dimension side. Okay. Again, I'm going to make some manual adjustments. I'm going to change the side of the wall that these are dimensioning to, so it's consistent. And I'm going to drag this down and grab some other walls that we want to show. Drag these down a little so they're this one down. Let's switch that one. Actually, let's switch that back for a second. I drag it down and then switch it. Okay, I'm just kind of QCing all these as I go within this range box. Making sure that the side that we're dimensioning to of the frame wall is consistent. All right, I'm gonna see. Toggle that back on. No, undo. Adding another range box across this side of the house. I'm going to extend it to get some walls that we need. And I'm going to make some manual adjustments as I go. These are a little difficult to read because they're so close on these walls and they're overlapping. So I'm gonna change this one to this side. Let's change that one. This one up. Get it? There we go. Okay, we now have 3 range boxes covering the back side of the house, the garage side, and the garage opposite side. So we're gonna add one more range box across the front of the house and go from let me click this wall, toggle that off and back on real quick to see if that kind of helps me. There we go. I'm gonna add another range box. There we go. It's kind of I also want to flip the dimension model side on this one. And extend it. Had overlapping dimensions there from several walls that are within the range box that are all coming from the same place. So drag this one back here for and yeah. There we go. Okay, so I'm just kind of QCing. as I go here, make sure they're all on the same side of the wall. All right, I'm going to now that I have all the dimensions added, I'm just going to kind of give it a final QC, make sure all my walls are dimensioned. And I'm going to go ahead and save the job. Okay, at this point, we're ready to create our reports and our data exports that we need. So I'm going to run a script that we've created. I'm going to navigate to the location on our shop floor where the script files are located. I'm going to pick the correct one for Westmoreland. And the first thing that this is going to do when I run the script is it's going to generate our report images, which you can see it starting to do right now. So this is creating all of our panel elevations, our panel opening elevations. Once it finishes with the panel elevation images, then it's going to automatically start creating the data export, which is the CSV file that we can import into other programs, also PDFs for the reports. Then it automatically places them in the correct folder on our shop floor Ignite drive. All right, the report images are created. So now in the background, it's kind of creating these reports, writing some additional files. It will pop up and let us know when the script is finished running. There we go. Script complete for Isabel Farms 127. Step that we're going to do is now that we've created a placement plan, which I dimensioned in Lumber Lineup, it automatically created a PDF when we ran the script. I'm going to switch back to coins and go to the panel placement guide that we've set up out of ACA coins that shows our stud locations, our door and window locations, our panel tags as well, which correspond with our ones in Lumber Lineup, and also our door and window opening sizes and headers. I'm simply going to create a PDF of this panel layout. I'm also going to save it in the same location. So our shop floor, Arbor Homes, Isabel Farms, Westmoreland. Doesn't really matter what I call it because I'm going to combine it with this one momentarily. Okay. I'm going to switch here. I just opened my Copilot AI assistant, and I'm going to go to the right location. I'm going to grab the panel placement. And I'm also going to grab the one that I just created from Coins. All right, and we now have a PDF with our panel placement guide from Lumber Lineup and our one from Coins showing our studs. And I'm going to save this file into the shop floor location. And that would conclude our current Coins and Lumber Lineup workflow process.